Captain Daniel Foster stood at the main viewport of the UES Titan, his eyes fixed on the distant stars. The massive battleship hummed quietly around him, its smart armor hull gleaming under the light of Earth's sun. 6 months had passed since humanity learned the bitter truth about their place in the galaxy, and the memory still made his jaw clench. "Captain, Admiral Howard is ready for the briefing," said Lieutenant Parker from his station. The young officer's voice carried the same tension everyone had felt since first contact. Foster nodded and walked to the command center, his boots clicking against the polished floor. The holographic display flickered to life, showing Admiral Lisa Howard's stern face. Her silver hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and the lines around her eyes seemed deeper than ever. "Captain Foster," she said, "I assume you've reviewed the data from our intelligence teams." "Yes, Admiral. The sections have been busy." Foster pulled up the reports on his screen. "They've positioned blockade ships at every major point in our solar system. They're not even trying to hide it anymore." Howard's expression darkened. "They never were. We just couldn't see them before. Do you know what bothers me most, Captain? It's not that they hid from us for centuries. It's not even that they tried to take over Earth during first contact. It's the fact that they still think we're too primitive to understand what they're doing." Foster thought back to that day, when the Zexian ships appeared over every major city on Earth. They had come with sweet words about welcoming humanity to the galactic community, but their true intentions became clear when they tried to use their telepathic abilities to enslave Earth's leaders. They hadn't expected humans to be naturally resistant to their powers. "The Council's official statement calls us unstable and unpredictable," Howard continued. "They've convinced 50 other species that we need to be contained, isolated. For the good of the galaxy, they say." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "And what do we say to that, Admiral?" Foster asked, though he already knew the answer. He had seen the fire in her eyes during their previous meetings. "We show them exactly what humanity can do." Howard pressed a button, and a new image appeared, a map of the galaxy with a route marked in red. "The Titan is the most advanced ship we've ever built, Captain. Your smart armor technology, the dark matter drive, the stealth systems, the aliens think we're centuries away from developing these things. They don't understand how fast humans can progress when we're backed into a corner." Foster studied the route. It led straight to Nexus Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Council. "This is deep in Council space, Admiral. They have thousands of ships patrolling these sectors. They have thousands of ships looking for traditional engine signatures and energy shields," Howard corrected him. "The Titan doesn't use either. You'll be invisible to their standard detection methods. And when you get there, Captain Foster, you're going to park that beautiful ship of yours right over their heads, 2 miles above their precious council chambers." Howard's eyes gleamed. "Let them look up and see what the primitive humans can do." Foster felt a smile tugging at his lips. It was crazy, dangerous, and exactly the kind of bold move that might work. The Zexians and their council allies relied too heavily on their advanced technology and telepathic abilities. They didn't understand human determination, human creativity, or human anger. "We'll need a crew," Foster said. "The best we got." Already selected. Howard sent another file. Chief Engineer Robert Wells. He helped design the Titan systems. Lieutenant John Martinez for your fighter squadron. Emily Chen in sciences. They're all top of their fields, and more importantly, they all understand what's at stake. Foster scanned through the crew profiles. Every person had been chosen not just for their skills, but for their ability to think creatively under pressure. That would be essential for what was coming. "One last thing, Captain," Howard said, her voice growing serious. "If we're right about the Council's true nature, this mission isn't just about Earth. There could be dozens of other species out there being suppressed, hidden away like we were. This could change everything for them too." Foster straightened his uniform and nodded. "We won't let them down, Admiral. Earth or our unknown allies." Good hunting, Captain. Show them what humanity can do. The hologram flickered out, leaving Foster alone with his thoughts and the quiet hum of his ship. He touched the smooth wall of the command center, feeling the subtle vibration of the most advanced human technology ever created. Soon, this ship would cast its shadow over the Galactic Council, and the galaxy would never be the same. Lieutenant Parker, he called out, send word to all departments. Mission briefing in 1 hour. We're going hunting. Chief Engineer Robert Wells walked through the massive engine room of the UES Titan, his hand running along the dark metal pipes that carried power throughout the ship. The crew around him worked quickly, preparing for their dangerous mission into Council space. Their footsteps echoed against the steel floor as they moved between the towering machines. Show me the smart armor readings again, he called out to his team. A young engineer named Amy brought up the numbers on a nearby screen. Unlike the simple energy shields used by alien ships, the Titan's armor was special. It could learn from attacks and adjust itself to become stronger. The armor's ready, sir, Amy said, pointing to the green indicators. We've loaded all the data from the first contact battle. The armor remembers every weapon the Zexians used against Earth. Wells nodded with pride. He had helped design this system, working long nights to solve problems other engineers said were impossible. The aliens thought humans were too primitive to build advanced technology. They were wrong. Up on the bridge, Science Officer Emily Chen was making her own discoveries. Her fingers moved quickly across her control panel as she studied the data they had stolen from Zexian computers. Captain Foster, she called out. I think I've found something important. Foster walked over to her station. The bridge crew turned to listen. The Council's defensive systems all connect to a central network, Chen explained, keeping her words simple but clear. They never thought anyone could get past their outer defenses, so they didn't protect their inner systems very well. Like leaving the back door unlocked because you think your front gate is too strong, Foster said with a smile. Exactly. Chen pulled up more information. And there's something else. Their ships use quantum communications to talk to each other. But they only check for other quantum signals. They don't look for old-style radio waves at all. Foster understood what this meant. The Titan could listen to Council ships without them knowing. It was like having an invisible spy in their meetings. In the fighter bay, Lieutenant John Martinez climbed into his new fighter ship. These ships were smaller than the Titan, but just as special. They used the same smart armor and could hide from alien sensors. Remember, he told his pilots during their briefing, alien ships depend on their computers to fight. They'd forgotten how to think creatively. We'll use that against them. His pilots nodded. They had trained for months in secret, learning to fly in ways the aliens wouldn't expect. Their smaller ships would protect the Titan if needed, but they could also cause plenty of trouble on their own. Back in engineering, Wells was showing Captain Foster the ship's most important system, the dark matter drive. The large black machine filled the center of the engine room, humming with power that humans had only learned to control in the last few years. Normal ships push themselves through space, Wells explained. Our drive pulls space itself. The aliens can't track us because we're not moving the way they think ships should move. Foster watched the drive work. It looked simple from the outside, but he knew it was humanity's greatest achievement. No alien ship could catch them if they didn't want to be caught. How are we doing on power? Foster asked. Better than expected, Wells answered. The drive uses less energy than we thought. We could probably reach the Council's capital world twice before needing more fuel. The captain's communicator beeped. It was Communications Officer Maria Rodriguez from the bridge. Captain, we're picking up Council transmissions, she reported. They're talking about Earth again. They're planning to put up more ships around our solar system. They want to lock us in completely. Foster's face hardened. The Council wasn't just trying to keep humans away from other worlds. They wanted to trap humanity on Earth forever. They were afraid of what humans might do if they had the freedom to grow and explore. Well, Foster said, looking around at his crew, they're about to learn why they should be afraid. Is everyone ready? Wells nodded at his engineering team. Martinez's voice came in from the fighter bay confirming his pilots were prepared. Chen and Rodriguez gave thumbs up from their stations on the bridge. The UES Titan hummed louder as its systems came fully online. Soon, this ship would show the galaxy what humans could do. The Council thought they could cage humanity. Instead, they had forced humans to become stronger than anyone thought possible. All stations, this is the captain. Foster announced over the ship's speakers. Our mission begins now. Let's go make history. The UES Titan floated silently in Earth's orbit, watching the Zexian blockade ships that surrounded the solar system. Through the bridge windows, Captain Foster could see their purple-hulled vessels forming a web around humanity's home. They looked like giant metal spiders, waiting to catch any Earth ship that tried to escape. Counting 30 Zexian warships, Lieutenant John Martinez reported from his fighter control station. They're spread out in a standard patrol pattern, just like we expected. Foster nodded. The Zexians were smart, but they were also predictable. They always used the same tactics because those tactics had always worked before. But they had never faced humans before. Lieutenant Martinez, is your fighter team ready? Foster asked. Yes, sir. My pilots are ready to give them a show they won't forget. Martinez grinned as he checked his squadron status one last time. The plan was simple but clever. While the fighters distracted the blockade, the Titan would slip past using its stealth systems. The Zexians wouldn't know what hit them. Launch fighters, Foster ordered. In the launch bay, 12 human fighters roared to life. They were small compared to the Zexian ships, painted black to blend with space. Martinez sat in the lead fighter, his hands steady on the controls. Remember the plan, he told his pilots through the radio. We're not trying to win. We just need to make them look the wrong way. The fighters shot out of the Titan like arrows. They flew straight toward the biggest group of Zexian ships, their engines blazing bright against the darkness of space. The Zexian ships reacted exactly as planned. Their purple hulls lit up with warning lights, and they turned to face the incoming human fighters. They probably thought Earth was trying another failed breakout attempt. They took the bait. Communications Officer Maria Rodriguez reported from her station. She was listening to the Zexian ships talk to each other. They're calling for all ships to stop our fighters. They think we're desperate. Martinez led his squadron in a wild dance around the alien ships. His pilots weaved between their energy beams, using moves that the Zexians had never seen before. The alien ships were bigger and stronger, but the human fighters were faster and more agile. You should hear them, Rodriguez said with a smile. They're so confused. They keep saying we're flying incorrectly. They think their computers must be broken because we're not following their standard flight patterns. While the Zexians were distracted by the fighters, the Titan made its move. The huge battleship's dark matter drive hummed to life, but instead of the normal blue engine glow that alien ships used, it bent space around itself without any light at all. Dark matter drive at full power, Chief Engineer Wells reported from the engine room. We're completely silent. The Titan slipped through the blockade like a shadow. The Zexian ships never turned around. They were too busy chasing Martinez and his fighters, who kept them spinning in circles with clever maneuvers. We're past their sensor range, Science Officer Chen announced. They still haven't detected us. Foster pressed a button on his chair. Lieutenant Martinez, bring your team home. The fighters suddenly broke away from their dance with the Zexian ships. Before the aliens could react, Martinez's squadron disappeared into the darkness of space, using their own stealth systems to vanish. The Zexian ships floated in confusion, their sensors searching for targets that were no longer there. By the time they realized what had happened, both the fighters and the Titan were long gone. Back on the Titan's bridge, Martinez and his pilots returned to their stations, still grinning from their successful mission. Did you see them spinning around? One pilot laughed. They looked like drunk dancers at a party. But their celebration was cut short by Rodriguez's voice. Her face had turned serious as she listened to her communications equipment. "Captain," she said, "I'm picking up new messages from the Council. They're talking about putting up a permanent energy shield around our whole solar system. They want to lock Earth away forever." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. If the Council built their shield, Earth would become a prison. No ships would ever get in or out again. "Well," Foster said, standing up from his captain's chair, "then we'd better make sure our visit to the Council changes their minds." He looked at his crew, seeing the determination in their eyes. "Set course for Nexus Prime. It's time to show the galaxy that humans won't be caged." The Titan turned toward distant stars, moving silently through space. The mission to save Earth had truly begun. The UES Titan moved quietly through space, traveling deeper into Council territory than any human ship had ever gone before. Security Chief David Wilson walked through the ship's corridors, checking reports on his tablet. Something about the Council's behavior bothered him, and he was determined to find out why. "Chief Wilson," the voice called. He turned to see Science Officer Emily Chen walking quickly toward him. "You need to see what we found in the Council's data." They headed to the ship's analysis room, where screens covered the walls showing information stolen from Council computers. Chen pulled up several files, her fingers moving fast across the controls. "Look at these records," she said. "The Council isn't just controlling Earth. They're doing the same thing to at least 20 other species." Wilson leaned closer to the screens. The files showed different alien worlds, all surrounded by blockades like Earth's. Some had been trapped for hundreds of years. "Captain Foster needs to see this," Wilson said, pressing his communicator. "Bridge, this is security. We have important information." On the bridge, Foster listened carefully as Chen and Wilson explained their discovery. The more he heard, the angrier he became. "So the Zexians aren't just bullies," Foster said. "They're running a galaxy-wide prison system. Any species that thinks differently from them gets locked away." "Yes, sir," Chen nodded. "And I found something else. There's a species called the Kroth. Their ships were seen near here recently. According to these files, they've been fighting against Council control for years." Foster thought for a moment. "Communications, can we find these craft ships?" Maria Rodriguez adjusted her equipment, scanning different frequencies. After a few minutes, her face lit up. "Got them," she said. 3 craft ships hiding in a nearby asteroid field. They're trying to stay off Council sensors, just like us." "Send them a message," Foster ordered. "Tell them we're from Earth, and we want to talk." The bridge crew waited nervously. Making contact with unknown aliens was risky, but they needed allies. After what felt like forever, Rodriguez's console beeped. "They're responding," she said excitedly. "They want to meet." The Titan carefully approached the asteroid field. Through the windows, they saw 3 ships emerge from hiding. They were smaller than the Titan, with rough, battle-scarred hulls that showed years of fighting. "Their ships look like they've been through hell," Martins commented from his station. "Just like they've been fighting the Council for a long time," Wilson added. A face appeared on the main screen. A craft captain. He looked almost human, except for his gray skin and large eyes. He spoke through the translator system. "Earthship," the craft captain said. "We have heard of your world. The Council fears you because you resist their control, just as we do." Foster stepped forward. "We're heading to Nexus Prime to show the Council they can't keep imprisoning species that are different from them." The craft captain's eyes widened. "You found a way past their blockade. Impressive. We have tried for years." "We can help each other," Foster offered. "Our ship has technology the Council hasn't seen before. You have experience fighting them. Together, we might be able to change things." The craft captain was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled, showing sharp teeth. "Yes," he said. "Yes, we will help. The Council has controlled the galaxy for too long. It's time for change." Over the next few hours, the craft shared everything they knew about Council defenses. They told stories about other species fighting for freedom, about secret resistance movements, and about worlds waiting for a chance to break free. In return, Foster showed them some of the Titan's new technology. The craft were amazed by the smart armor and dark matter drive. They had never seen anything like it. The Council tells everyone that newer species are primitive, the craft captain said. But look what you humans have built. They fear you because you proved them wrong. Then let's prove them wrong together, Foster replied. When we reach Nexus Prime, the Council won't just see one ship demanding freedom. They'll see that their control is ending. The craft ships joined the Titan, forming a small fleet of resistance. As they traveled toward Nexus Prime, they received messages from other hidden ships and worlds. The news spread quietly through Council space. Humans were coming, and they were bringing change with them. Foster watched the stars through his window, thinking about all the species waiting for freedom. The Titan's mission had become bigger than just saving Earth. They were going to change the whole galaxy. Course laid in for Nexus Prime, sir, his navigator reported. Take us in, Foster ordered. It's time to wake up the galaxy. Nexus Prime filled the Titan's view screen like a jewel in space. The Council's capital world was covered in gleaming cities that stretched across entire continents. Thousands of ships moved around the planet, coming and going from all parts of the galaxy. Status report, Captain Foster called out, standing at the center of his bridge. All systems running silent. Chief Engineer Wells replied from engineering. Dark matter drive is keeping us invisible. The Grand Assembly is starting. Communications Officer Rodriguez reported, listening to Council broadcasts. Every important alien leader in the galaxy is down there right now. The timing was perfect. The Titan, along with their new craft allies, had arrived just as the Council began their biggest meeting of the year. Security Chief Wilson checked his tactical display one last time. No sign they've spotted us, he said. Their sensors are still blind to our technology. Foster took a deep breath. Everything they had planned, everything they had fought for, came down to this moment. Take us into position, he ordered, right above the Council chambers. The massive human battleship moved slowly through space, its dark hull blocking out the stars behind it. On the planet below, aliens went about their business, not knowing what was about to happen. We're in position, Martinez reported from his station, 2 miles above the Council building, just like Admiral Howard planned. Foster nodded. Now, let's introduce ourselves. Miss Rodriguez, open all channels. Send our message to every screen and speaker on Nexus Prime. Rodriguez's fingers flew across her console. Ready, sir. Foster straightened his uniform and began to speak. His words would be heard by millions of aliens across the planet. Attention, Galactic Council. This is Captain Daniel Foster of the UES Titan, representing Earth and humanity. Your attempts to imprison our world have failed. Your blockade has been broken. And now, your lies will end. On the planet below, chaos erupted. Aliens looked up at their view screens in shock as they saw the massive human ship hovering above their capital. Council security ships scrambled to respond, but they couldn't get a target lock on the Titan's strange technology. They're trying to use their telepathy, Science Officer Chen reported, monitoring alien communications. But it's not working. They can't believe we're naturally resistant. The Zexian leaders in the Council chambers were panicking. Their most powerful weapon, their ability to control other species' minds, had no effect on the humans above them. We also bring proof of your crimes, Foster continued, his voice stern. We know about the other worlds you've imprisoned, the species you've hidden away because they were different, the lies you've told to keep your power. Security Chief Wilson activated another system, and the Titan began broadcasting evidence to every screen on the planet. Files, records, and images showed how the Council had been controlling and imprisoning species across the galaxy. The craft ships are moving into position, Martinez reported. Right on cue, their allies decloaked their ships, showing that humanity wasn't alone in this fight. The council chambers erupted in chaos. Many council members had never known about these secrets. Species that had trusted the Zexians for centuries were learning they had been deceived. More ships are appearing, Rodriguez said excitedly. The resistance groups we contacted, they're all coming out of hiding. Across Nexus Prime space, ships from different oppressed species revealed themselves. They had been waiting and watching, ready to support humanity's bold move. A new voice came through the communication system, a Zexian council leader, trying to sound calm despite his fear. This is a violation of council space, the Zexian said. Your primitive ship cannot. Primitive, Foster interrupted. Let's test that theory. He nodded to Wells in engineering. The Titan's smart armor came alive, shimmering with power that no alien had seen before. When council ships tried to attack, their weapons couldn't even scratch the human vessel's hull. We are not primitive, Foster declared. We are not unstable. We are humanity, and we will not be caged. The old council ends today. It's time for all species to have a voice. From the planet below, cheers began to rise. Smaller species that had lived under Zexian control for generations were celebrating in the streets. The sight of the Titan, dark and powerful against their sky, had become a symbol of freedom. Sir, Rodriguez called out, smiling, we're getting messages from all over the planet. Other council members want to talk. They're calling for emergency meetings, without the Zexians in charge. Foster allowed himself a small smile. The shadow of humanity's battleship had done more than just darken the council's sky. It had brought light to a galaxy that had been in darkness for too long. Send them our terms, he ordered. The age of imprisonment is over. The age of freedom begins now. The next 24 hours on Nexus Prime changed the galaxy forever. Captain Foster watched from the Titan's bridge as the old council fell apart piece by piece. Sir, you need to see this, Lieutenant Sarah Pierce said, rushing onto the bridge. As head of the Titan's ground team, she had been monitoring the situation on the planet's surface. The council chambers are in complete chaos. On the main screen, they could see council members arguing with each other. Many were shouting at the Zexian leaders, demanding answers about the imprisoned worlds they had never known about. The Zexians are trying to delete their secret files, Science Officer Chen reported from her station. But we already copied everything. They can't hide the truth anymore. Foster nodded to Lieutenant Pierce. Take your team down there. Secure their data archives before they can destroy any more evidence. Pierce and her team took a shuttle to the surface. They wore the same smart armor as the Titan, making them nearly impossible to stop. The Council's security forces didn't even try to fight when they saw the humans coming. Archives secured, Captain, Pierce reported through her radio. You won't believe what we're finding. The Zexians have been doing this for thousands of years. Any species that developed differently from them was marked as dangerous and isolated. Communications Officer Rodriguez's console lit up with incoming messages. Sir, we're getting calls from at least 30 different species. They all want to break away from Zexian control. Some of them have been prisoners for centuries. The Titan had started something that couldn't be stopped. All across the galaxy, species that had been forced to obey the Council were standing up for themselves. The craft ships that had joined them were broadcasting encouraging messages to their own people. Captain, Security Chief Wilson called out, Council defense ships are powering down their weapons. They're standing down. Foster turned to see Council ships all around them lowering their shields. Their crews had seen the truth about their leaders and were refusing to fight. Some were even turning their weapons toward the Zexian ships. More resistance ships arriving, Martinez reported from his fighter control station. They're coming out of hiding all over the sector. The Zexians are surrounded. On the planet below, Pierce and her team had found something even more important. They discovered the central computer that controlled all the blockades around imprisoned worlds, including Earth. Permission to shut it down, sir, Pierce asked over the radio. Foster smiled. Do it, Lieutenant. Set them all free. Pierce's team worked quickly, using Earth's advanced computer knowledge to break through the system's defenses. One by one, the energy barriers around dozens of worlds began to fail. Message from the Zexian High Leader, Rodriguez announced. They want to surrender. The bridge crew cheered, but Foster raised his hand for quiet. Put them through. The Zexian leader appeared on screen, looking much less grand than before. His purple skin had turned pale with fear. We were wrong, the Zexian admitted, his voice shaking. We thought control was the only way to keep peace in the galaxy. We never imagined, never believed that younger species could be trusted with freedom. That was your biggest mistake, Foster replied. You were so busy controlling everyone that you never saw what they could become on their own. Humanity didn't become strong because you isolated us. We became strong because we believe in freedom. The news spread quickly across the galaxy. The Zexians were stripped of their power. The other council members, horrified by what they had learned, voted to create a new system where all species would have an equal voice. Sir, Rodriguez called out, Admiral Howard is calling from Earth. The blockade ships around our solar system are leaving. We're free. Foster looked at his crew, seeing pride in their faces. The Titans' mission had succeeded beyond their wildest hopes. They hadn't just saved Earth, they had freed the galaxy. The other species want to thank us, Wilson reported. They're calling humans heroes. They're saying Earth's resistance inspired them all to stand up to the Council. We're getting requests from dozens of worlds. Rodriguez added, they want to learn about our technology, our culture, everything. They say humanity has shown them a new way to live. Foster stood at his viewport, watching ships from newly freed worlds flying proudly through space. The Titan's shadow had done more than darken the council chambers. It had cast light on a brighter future for everyone. Send a message to all ships, he ordered. Tell them the real work begins now. We're going to build something better than the Council ever imagined. A galaxy where every species can grow, learn, and reach for the stars in their own way. The Titan's crew sent out the message, knowing they had helped write a new chapter in the history of the galaxy. The Age of Freedom had truly begun. 3 months after the Titan's mission to Nexus Prime, Captain Daniel Foster stood in the new Galactic Assembly Hall. The room was filled with representatives from hundreds of species, including many that had been hidden away by the old Council. Earth's chair sat proudly among them, equal to all others. The changes you started are spreading fast, Admiral Lisa Howard said, standing beside him. She had come from Earth to see the new government take shape. Who would have thought one battleship could change the whole galaxy? Foster watched as alien representatives talked and worked together. The craft sat next to humans, sharing stories about their fights for freedom. Species that had never met before were learning from each other, trading ideas and technology. What's the status of the former prison worlds? Foster asked. All blockades are down, Howard replied with a smile. Every imprisoned species is free to travel. Earth ships are already helping some of them rebuild their space programs. They lost so many years to the Council's control. The Titan floated in orbit above them, now a symbol of hope rather than fear. Other ships came to see it, amazed by human technology. The smart armor and dark matter drive had shown everyone that new ideas could be better than old ones. Chief Engineer Wells is busy, Howard continued. Every species wants to learn about our technology. And their scientists have some amazing ideas too. Things we never thought of. In one corner of the hall, Science Officer Emily Chen was working with alien researchers. They were combining human creativity with technology from across the galaxy, making new discoveries every day. Lieutenant Martinez's fighter pilots are teaching other species our flying techniques, Howard added. And they're learning new moves too. It's amazing what happens when everyone works together instead of fighting. Security Chief Wilson approached them with his tablet. The last Zexian prison systems have been shut down, he reported. And we found something interesting in their old files. They didn't just fear us because we resisted their telepathy. They feared us because we adapt so quickly. How do you mean? Foster asked. Look at this. Wilson showed them the tablet. Most species take hundreds of years to make big technological changes. But humans, we went from our first airplanes to space travel in less than 70 years. The Zexians had never seen anything like it. That's why they tried to cage us. Howard understood. They were afraid of how fast we could grow. Communications Officer Rodriguez's voice came through their communicators. She was up on the Titan, monitoring space traffic. Sir, you should see this. Ships from all over the galaxy are arriving for the ceremony. It's beautiful up here. Foster looked out the giant windows. Space around Nexus Prime was filled with ships of all sizes and shapes. They had come to see the official founding of the new Galactic Alliance, a government where all species would have an equal voice. Lieutenant Sarah Pierce joined them, wearing her dress uniform. The archives are all public now, she reported. Every species can learn about their true history. No more secrets, no more lies. And the Zexians? Foster asked. Learning to live without their power, Pierce said. Some of them are actually helping us understand their old technology. They're starting to see that sharing power is better than holding it all themselves. The ceremony was about to begin. Representatives from every world took their seats. Earth's seat was no better or worse than any other. Exactly as it should be. Admiral Howard squeezed Foster's shoulder. You know what makes me proudest? She said quietly. We didn't just win freedom. We showed everyone a better way to live. The Titan could have destroyed the council chambers that day. Instead, you used it to protect the weak and free the imprisoned. Foster nodded. That's the real difference between us and the old council. They thought power meant controlling others. We know it means helping them grow. The hall fell quiet as the ceremony started. One by one, species that had been enemies under the old council signed the new alliance charter. Earth signed too, joining the galaxy as equals at last. As Foster watched, he remembered how this all started, with one battleship casting its shadow over the council chambers. But the Titan had done more than cast a shadow. It had lit a fire of freedom that would burn forever. Ready to head home, Captain? Howard asked when the ceremony ended. Foster looked around at the new alliance, at humans and aliens working together, at former prisoners standing tall and proud, at the bright future they had all built together. Yes, he said with a smile. Let's go home. Our work here is done. The UES Titan carried them back to Earth through free and open space. Behind them, they left a galaxy forever changed, not by force or fear, but by the courage to stand up for what was right.